Located on 225 acres in Garden City, Long Island, Nassau Community College, a member of the State University of New York system, has close to 20,000 students attend the school each year. The college mascot is Leo the Lion, and these are his stories of the school's absolute best and brightest who have graduated over the past 50-plus years. So let's catch up together as the Alumni Association of Nassau Community College proudly presents Lion Tales on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Welcome to Lion Tales. My name is Dr. Lynnda Nadien, and I am a director on the board of the Alumni Association at Nassau Community College and a proud graduate. I am here to celebrate the successes of our alum, and together we will share stories that will uplift, inspire, and often amuse you. Each week, I will introduce you to the alumni of Nassau Community College interested in sharing their experiences while attending the college and the secrets to their success. Look for many new and exciting events on the Alumni Association social media pages and share any exciting news with us on Facebook, Instagram, or on our webpage at ncc.edu/alumni. Or find me on X at Dr. Lynnda Nadien. The lion is the mascot for Nassau Community College. The lion is associated with balancing power, intention, physical strength, and grace. Our alum possess these same characteristics and symbolize courage, nobility, strength, and valor. Lions are a symbol of royalty, and all of our alum contribute to the beauty of our college society. Together, we are Lion Tales. Today, I would like to welcome to Lion Tales Elizabeth Sekreta, class of 2020. Elizabeth,
hey, how you doing?
Hi. Elizabeth received her associate's degree from NCC in 2020. She is currently a student at SUNY Old Westbury and preparing to be a teacher. She is student observing in the Hempstead School District and is passionate about working with children. Elizabeth loves to work out, hang with friends, and work at her job at the Outback. Elizabeth does bartending and serving. She loves art, especially pottery, and looks forward to future art classes. Nassau began her journey, and it is one to be proud of. Welcome to Lion Tales, Elizabeth Sekreta, class of 2020.
Yeah, thank you. That was awesome.
Thank you. So what were your intentions upon graduating from high school? What were you thinking about doing, and how did it lead you to Nassau?
So right after high school, honestly, I didn't know what I was doing, as really who does these days. But I was like, I need to do something, maybe go to trade school or go to the community college, because I know Nassau offers a ton of classes where you could dip your hands into really everything and figure it out. So I decided just to go right to Nassau, and I spent a few years there. I tried a ton of stuff. I really liked the sign language program that they offered.
Yes.
I actually just ran into one of my professors today, so that was great. She was interpreting at the courtroom that I was at earlier, so that was cool.
Oh, wow.
To see it in real life. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot to do with that.
Yeah, and so when you were on the campus of Nassau for the first time, what were some of the things that sparked your interest? What did you think what you would do? Did you just take random classes, or you were trying to concentrate in one area?
I was taking a lot of classes because I did just decide to do liberal arts. My dad kind of said that's the best way to figure this out right now. So
yeah, that's
my
true.
First semester was just general, like a math, science, and I did take a sign language as my, the language requirement. And it was actually another cool class. It was an alcoholism class. It dove into, learning about that disease and stuff. So that was cool because there was a lot of experiences that we got outside of the classroom with actually the sign language class and that elective.
Right.
Which I thought was interesting for everybody to try, especially if you don't know what you're going into.
Right. Now, were you interested at all in doing any type of counseling with students in the future? Was that something that maybe you thought of because of, taking a class about alcoholism, or, also even in sign language where, that's really something that's needed in society, that we're lacking trained people to really sign for specific events and for children that may be hard of hearing or deaf? Right.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I was happy I took the class because I just took them on a whim, but that definitely always stuck in my mind. Even today, I still want to figure out, I'm not fluent in sign language, but it is something that I would like to continue to nurture, that, language, is a way to learn it, because it can open doors and you can be helpful to others in society, actually, which I just spoke to the professor today about. She reminded me that there are public deaf schools that, with my degree, I could potentially, try to even get a job there if I, picked up more sign language. And so those are all opportunities. Guidance counseling actually did cross my mind, diving into the world of education. I thought about maybe doing that for my master's, but I'm not there yet. But that is something I think that I took also from these classes is there are those options out there, and there's a ton to do with it.
Right. And it seems like everything sort of really does kind of connect back to the classroom setting, because the more sort of talents and abilities that you have as the classroom teacher, that's going to always kind of spread the wealth to all of the students that, will be sitting before you. Now, right now, what was the transition like moving from the community college setting into the 4-year setting? And how did you choose SUNY Old Westbury?
So I chose SUNY Old Westbury because at this point after Nassau, I was like, I took a year off and just worked a lot. And I decided, I think I'm going to go for education. I wanted to maybe do history teaching, be a high school history teacher. Didn't pan out, but I went to SUNY Old Westbury because I knew I wanted to commute. And it's a SUNY, and I obviously really enjoyed my time at SUNY Nassau, so it was an easy transition. I definitely did notice a difference. I didn't think I would because I know that, SUNY Old Westbury is a big transfer/commuter school, so I didn't think there would be much of a difference. But it's my first time at a 4-year school, where people do live there. So there is definitely, I think, a lot more like campus life versus at Nassau, because Nassau, you just go there and go home. But I made a lot more, I think, like good friends at Old Westbury where like we're all in the same program. Some of them live there, so I see a lot more like quote unquote college life than I would have if I just maybe went to another school or
right. And so from leaving Nassau, you knew that you wanted to pursue education, or you had an interest in history, and then you said, well, education will sort of tie into my familiarity or my concentration in history.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I did think about teaching. Like while I was in high school, that was one of the hundreds of career options. I was like, maybe I can do that. It was never set in stone, so it was always in the back of my mind. But I ended up choosing the education, and then when I got to Old Westbury, I don't remember. I ended up actually dropping out of something happened. A friend, something happened with a friend, so I decided not to go to school that semester. And then when I ended up going back, like a semester later, I think I was accidentally in the childhood program, but I ended up really liking it, and so I stuck with that.
That's great.
And I was kind of like stuck between, it was either SUNY Old Westbury or trade school, and I just decided to go with the teaching route.
Right. And, I know we discuss a lot about the fact that once you do have a teaching degree, there's really so much that can be done with it. And, anytime you have the opportunity to get any type of other certification, let's say sign language certification or any type of liberal arts courses or those certificates in mental health, all of that ends up being part of, your classroom breakdown and how you can also bring that into the classroom. And so it's always good to kind of like really spread that out. Some of the challenges right now for educators moving into, again, we're talking about 25 years into the millennium almost. And what are the challenges you see as an educator at this point? And you're really beginning your career, but what are some things that you're seeing that maybe we need to kind of focus on a little bit so that we can make it better for students in the classroom?
From what I've thought about even before, I guess I've thought about things like curriculum before even entering a classroom. And now that I'm in the classroom, I see it's just so, I think one of the biggest challenges is trying to fit like the district or like the state guidelines when, a lot of that is not possible to touch every point. I know you know what I'm saying,
yes.
But I think that's a struggle because it's not, and it also leads some kids, like it's kind of not fair for some kids, like, if I think our curriculum is so cut and dry, a lot of it, where I think we could incorporate a lot more things into it that people can use with their day-to-day life, I think that's the biggest struggle I've noticed just from observing in the classroom is trying to really, hit all these nails down for these kids so that they can succeed the next year and the year after that and not fall behind. And I think that's the hardest is trying to, map out your school year and map out your day to day to get everything done.
Right.
And a lot of it is very tough.
And now also when you have, let's say, at least 20 students in the classroom and everyone's sort of at a different level and has different talents and abilities, how are you seeing the teachers trying to kind of cultivate the kids' talents and give them motivation to, pursue what they're interested in, and then also covering all the curriculum strands? Well,
yeah, I think that's what we talk about a lot in the classroom, and I know it's possible to do in real life, and I just think a lot of it is, not a lot, which is sad to say, but I think a lot of it is theoretical. I'm in a classroom now that I'm observing, and it's very small. It's 11, and we just got 2 new students that don't speak really any English. And then there are some students in the classroom that are very low, and then there's a couple that are very high. And I was actually just talking to the teacher, we talk about in the classroom cultivating these, students that might need extra, enrichment, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard to do that in the day when you're trying to get X, Y, and Z done with everybody. And then I think it also, what I was saying to myself is, how am I going to separate these students and not make the other students feel like they're less than because they're not in a special group? And I think, and that's just from a classroom now that has, 13 students. So I think the teacher would love to do that. And it's just, I think that's part of the struggle, is finding time to help everybody and make sure everybody's on the same page.
Absolutely.
When you do have the different level. And I said to her too, I'm like, this is a lot, and there's 13 of them. I can't imagine there being double the amount of kids. And, and that's normal. Normal is in the 20s. So
yeah, absolutely.
I think that's going to be the biggest struggle.
Yeah, you were listening to Lion Tales on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. My name is Dr. Lynnda Nadien, and our guest today is Elizabeth Sekreta, class of 2020. So again, we're going back to strategies to kind of engage all the students, and you're saying that you're observing a classroom where the enrollment is kind of relatively low compared to, 20 to 25 in a class. What are the teachers modeling to engage the students during the day, and what does their schedule look like?
So we do phonics in the morning. In the very first thing we do is we journal. All the students will write down whatever the prompt is. The other day was write 3 facts about winter, so the season winter. So we go over, the students take some time. They ask for help, to write things correctly, and they try to get those down. And then we go into phonics. So the teacher, we were working on blends this week. They'll repeat the word, and then, they'll go over long or short vowel. That's the morning. And then there's pretty much lunch, and then they do, math. We do math when we come back from lunch. And then there's iReady time, so they get their tablets. And all the students, pretty much, all of them are on there. I'm pretty sure they're leveled to whatever level they're on, so they're getting help with reading and math. So they do a reading lesson and math lesson. It's really beneficial. The teacher says the kids, they are learning a lot from it, and it is useful. And I leave at around 2, so that's what I see mostly. And then we do break off in groups some days. I don't know the exact schedule, but some days we'll work on a project, and I'll take 3 of the kids. And there's certain students that usually work together.
Yeah. Now, are you seeing we need obviously support and access and resources, but we also have the technology piece. So when the students are going onto their tablet or their iPad to, really use a program like iReady, which does give you, you really lets you function exactly where you are grade level wise in the different content areas. How are the kids' technology skills?
They're good. They're first grade. They know how to work their tablets. They were showing me how to get on the app the first day because I didn't know what it was doing.
Yeah.
But they're not really allowed to do anything else. So from what I know, they're definitely fluent in whatever they have to do. So they know the apps they have to go on. Some of the kids like to tell me in the morning, I was watching YouTube on my tablet yesterday. So they know a lot more about the tablet than I did in first grade. But I think, with all these programs, they're learning with them, and they're pretty fluent on that, at least. They'll show me how to use it.
Yeah, and it's very good for I guess, everyone to be as interactive in the classroom as possible, because the teacher's still planning the lessons and guiding the process throughout the day, and we're just using the iPad as, the vehicle to actually input the work and then maybe send that to a teacher in the folder. So for them to have those skills is really important. I know keyboarding is a big issue with students learning how to kind of really know how to type. And how do the students do with that, with the actual typing if they're using a keyboard?
I could see where that could be an issue. I mean, the students, only a few of them actually go on the computer, but again, the computer is touchscreen and they're able to access their app just by touching. So I'm thinking the same thing. I wonder if they really, they're not using laptops, they're using all touch. So I haven't seen them even use a keyboard, so I'm sure when that time comes or when the grade level that they do uses it, they're going to have to learn. Like when I was in elementary school, we had a keyboarding class. Like I think once a week went to the computer room and was learning how to type,
And that's really a great skill to have, because we're still, typing. I know everything is touchscreen, but sometimes you have to type. You're typing on your phone. And
and there are still stenographer jobs,
Yeah,
so
definitely.
I was at Yes. But I was actually touching upon the technology. I was actually I'm not against technology, but I don't think kids should be looking at a screen all day.
Right.
And I was pleased that, I haven't been in school besides college or whatever. I graduated high school in 2017. So growing up, at that age, we still had the projector where you have to put the film on top of the light and then you switch that on and it goes onto the board. Like we didn't have any of these... smart boards were, years later. So I was kind of happy to see that the kids really are using the iPad only a little bit,
Yeah.
Most of their stuff, we're still have books, still doing stuff with hands, manipulatives, all that stuff. So I was happy to see that it wasn't like taking over, the classroom.
Yeah, because even with the smartboard, the problem with the beginning when they were first installed, they were huge monstrosities that took up the whole entire chalkboard. So the teacher really didn't even have room to write on the board anymore. And a lot of times the kids were sitting in the dark for a long period of time. I mean, it could be over an hour, per subject. And it definitely affected a lot of kids' eyesights and the glare from the window coming in. So there's pros and cons of using the smartboard. But I do agree that, having chart paper and pencils and crayons and markers and being able to create those charts and being able to have students understand that the computer is not the only way to, be sort of their vehicle for learning. You want them to kind of have everything, because there are still paper pencil tasks that they would have to complete. And not just in school, but like in life in general, we're still filling things out with paper and pen. Even when they ask us to do it on the computer, you see how they still give you paper and pen when you get to the doctor's office or if you're going somewhere else,
Right, they'll still want you to print the sheet and bring it in. And then there's still careers that you want to use your hands. So taking away, we don't know what it's like to not be using our hands all day, So that's why it's like, thank goodness there's no overuse of technology, because then these kids, we don't know how that would affect their tactile function. Like obviously they're grown, but not all the way, years of not just, like creating with your hands or using them in projects and stuff can take away from skills that, would be needed after, your education ceases,
Right.
And
when you were at Nassau, so 2020 was, a critical year in the world as we know it. And that was the beginning of COVID. So you were on campus March of 2020. Yeah. And what?
Yeah, so I think it was a Wednesday or it was a weekday, and I still had an afternoon class, and I was leaving one of my classes, my sign language class, actually, with my friend, and I think they just shut down. Like, we got an email, like, just don't even come back, go home, and don't come back.
Right.
And that was that. And everything went on to Zoom after that.
Yeah, and what was it like learning remotely, with college courses?
Right. I personally hate online, which is why I didn't go back to school until it opened up, really.
Right.
But I mean, thankfully, the classes that I were taking were more communication classes. So like my sign language class we went online. It was easy to manipulate onto the computer because we're just, we need to see each other's faces, and that's really it, and hands and whatnot. And then I was taking a communications class, which was also easy to transition, onto online. I think it would have been a lot more difficult for a more strenuous class, because online also takes more discipline now. You have to do the work, really.
Yeah. And you want to stay motivated too, because a lot of times logging in, it's like, oh, this isn't really what I thought it might be. I mean, it is amazing that we were able to kind of make that transition from live in person to the remote platform. I think a lot of teachers made it look really easy. And then, of course, we're kind of subject to it all the time now. Oh, well, we'll Zoom or we'll do Google Meet. And
yeah, no more snow days.
Yeah. And it's kind of like, well, it doesn't always work like perfectly.
Right. I can't imagine doing it, as a classroom teacher. You just made me think of that. That's something I'm going to have to deal with maybe one day.
Right. You are listening to Lion Tales on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. My name is Dr. Lynnda Nadien, and our guest today is Elizabeth Sekreta, class of 2020. So you have other interests in the arts, and you also have that talent. And how would you use your love of art, in your future classroom?
That's something that I'm excited to keep finding out as I'm going. Once I student teach, I'll really be able to see. But I know we have to stick to a certain curriculum, but I'd love to incorporate that in the classroom with projects, Yeah. Because some students really they're able to express with their art, or they might find so much interest in it that would keep them engaged in the lesson, if we're working with our hands or we're creating something at the end of the day. So it's definitely something I would love to incorporate in the classroom. I can't think of anything offhand, but maybe, creating our own manipulators with clay, and maybe that could keep them more engaged because they made it,
Right. And if you do, we're speaking about working with ENL students and bilingual students, that the visual aids and the hands-on and the tactile material really does enhance their learning process and how they'll acquire language over time, which is really an amazing thing for a teacher to see. And hopefully you can get the supplies that you need, if you did want to do clay projects or, any pottery or the things that you really love, and share that with the kids, because it's things they remember forever. Right.
Yeah, it is like that. We had in my elementary school, we were in our own little class called enrichment class, and that's what it was called. And those are the most memorable projects that we did, were the art projects. We made a full size, what's it called? A mummy? What's the sarcophagus? I don't know the word, but
yeah.
We made our own thing, and we made our own cereal box. We did a commercial, and we all still talk about it. All my friends that I still have from elementary school, we still remember. And we have, and those were the most memorable things for the art projects. And we learned a lot out of it too, about the Egyptian, that was the Egyptian little segment. And I forgot what we learned about the cereal boxes, but that was fun.
Yeah, those are things that the kids will always remember, and especially when you save the projects and you look at them and you say, "Oh, I can't believe that I did this," and it really impacted my learning. That's so important.
Right, and it keeps kids get excited to go to school because of course you might be learning about something maybe you're not super interested in all day, but there's that one thing that you're going to do. And that keeps them motivated, for the day and for the school week and school year.
Yeah. And what is something that you hope to study in the future, besides incorporating art or even music into the curriculum? Anything else that you think, moving forward, once you complete this degree, that you're interested in?
I do want to broaden my horizons. I was actually going to ask you about that, another day when I get to talk to you outside of class or something. So I do want to, I want to get maybe a master's degree that I can be outside of the classroom and do something else in the school district or in the field of education, but just,
right.
Maybe something else.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, these are the things that we start thinking about, because now there's a journey from Nassau and going to Old Westbury, and now it's sort of coming to the big piece of the student teaching and the degree coming to an end. So there's so much to think about, and it's exciting because you have a lot of options with a degree in education, which is great to know. What advice would you give to the incoming students at Nassau Community College?
I would say, if you don't know what you're doing, try out a bunch of things. Take every piece of everything that you can from there, and use your time wisely. Don't mess around. Actually stay at the campus. There's a ton of clubs and a ton of classes that you probably don't even know exist that you could find something in. And yeah, I think that's it. I think just enjoy what you're doing and don't breeze through it. You know.
Yeah. And what did you learn about yourself as a student upon graduation from Nassau, or just being here on campus?
I think I learned that I do like being in school, and I like communicating with others no matter what the realm is. I like being at my job and just talking to people, and I like talking to you. And I just, I like being in the classroom, and I do like learning. And I think that's what I learned, that I also learned that there are a lot of options for you no matter what you want to do. If you don't want to go to school, there are plenty of options. And with school, there are so many things to do. And whatever you're doing right now doesn't have to be what you're doing in 5 or 10 years. And that is what I learned. Because in Nassau, you'll meet a lot of adults in your class, too. And I think that's something that was beneficial for me as a very young adult, having an older friend that was, had some guidance.
Absolutely. I would like to thank our guest, Elizabeth Sekreta, class of 2020. Thank you for being here, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Professor.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for being a guest today. My name is Dr. Lynnda Nadien, and I serve as a director on the board of the Nassau Community College Alumni Association, and I am a proud alum. Lion Tales is available as a podcast on iTunes, Android Podcasts, and Spreaker. More information is online at nccradio.org. Thanks for listening to Lion Tales on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.